Da-da-da. I gotta do this a lot sooner. That's okay. And there is butt. But we will be working on that still. Need you. Thank you. You know what? No, let's use Becky. There we go. Twitch. And post. I probably did not spell that right, did I? No, I did not. There we go. Do. Hello, Alex. I'm just sending out notices that I'm streaming. Probably be more efficient at this. Yay! Oh god, we are past 60, so that means I gotta work on Becky having a nun outfit at some point. Alright, let's set another goal. Can I set further? Start new goal. Okay, I can. I'm just gonna put it at 100. And then, I don't know. Probably do, like, fan art or something. Pokemon fan art. There we go. Point of view of wooden stools last precious seconds. I was thinking of having it be her her roommate or whoever the heck she's chilling with. Can also be a stool though, can make that comedic. Actually none of this needs to be relevant, I'll just post it. Twitch stream. There we go. Streaming and post. 2 more. Ink Bunnies is super easy though. 3 hours, thank you. And last but not least, Twitter. Do post. Alright then. Pokemon per hour. Alright. So I want to draw her roommate who's being crushed by the butt. Oh yeah, I still need to draw the rest of her hand, but that's okay. I'll do that afterwards. Or no, I'll just do that right now. Hope you're doing well. Let's move this hand a bit. That way it's closer to her. Just gotta reshape the arm. Oh yeah, let me make sure I labeled this right. Art. Okay, yes. And everything else is pretty much the way it should be. Okay. Not too bad. That's good. I'm doing good. I I'm just cranking out some of the Patreon stuff. Can't work on the Fat Lovers Club on here. Well, I try not to work on them in general on streams because I try to keep those exclusive. But every once in a while I'll do it just for the hell of it. Hello, Doom. Oh, no, I just accidentally forgot to change the stream to Twitch yesterday. So I had it on Picardo for like 2 minutes, and I was like, oh wait, I forgot to change it. Because there's like, at least as far as I'm aware, there's no like setting that lets me easily swap between Twitch and Picardo without having to like go into the settings. And so I just forgot to change it, that's all. But yeah, there wasn't a Picardo stream yesterday. Not supposed to be, at least. There will be one on Sunday, though. Doo-doo. But yeah, most are just, cranking out whatever I can work on, and then I'll probably move on to either updating character artwork or making artwork from Adopt that I got a while back. Blah 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 blah. Let's make your arm chunky over here. There we go, and then we'll just erase this. There we go. And as long as I'm not doing anything risque, it should be fine for Twitch, because I read their goddamn rules. It says no nudity and blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, this is not nudity. Showing a lot of butt, but there's not nudity. This is more of a joking picture anyway. Trust me, if I wanted to draw nudity, you'd be able to tell. Pumpkin, behave yourself. She is behaving. She's just, sitting on a willing seat. Big girls gotta have a proper chair. Yeah, that's a little too thin. There we go. There we go. Big piggy. Let's do it this way. There we go. Oops, need to delete that. Okay. Haven't really decided what her significant other or her boyfriend should look like. Might just make it a random guy for now. But if I were... Nah, fuck it, I'll just decide now. Let's make him a bird. Birdman. Just be like that. Might make him a tad bigger in comparison. But I want to get his general shape first. No, let's be a little bit more cartoony. There we go. I'm working on one of the Astacasts. Answering questions. Haven't decided what the second one will be, but I thought this one was amusing. And give me a reason to draw more butt. Nothing wrong with a good butt. Turn this down on my headphones. There we go. Making this guy a bird. And let's make it bigger. So let me adjust it based on where he is. So about here is fine. Can turn this off. Yeah, because like what, pumpkin pie, jam, peach, and probably coconut have decent sized butts. Yeah, I'll just do a big puffy cheeks of air being squished out. Who dares summon me? Yay, taxes in March. I know, right? Since birds usually have hollow bones. Not entirely sure if it's the same for bestials, but fuck it, might as well. Pretty close. That way some of them are able to fly and all that. Or most are able to fly. But yeah, back out a bit. You just like... I'll change his beak a bit to be more cartoony. Just go like that. And yet, at the end of the day, is this really a bad thing? He may pass out. He may even go on. He may even like wake up with a bit of a headache, but he probably won't be. He probably won't be denying this from happening again anytime soon. Actually, let's make this one the circle one. And this one like this. There we go. And might change the head a bit, but let's just keep going until I feel like changing things. How much would a not safe for work reference page cost? I have no idea because I haven't done references in God knows how long. I think I like stopped that being a thing for commissions, and that's even if I even open for commissions again, which I'm debating on still because I'm thinking of reopening next month. And if I do, it's just that I'm just gonna have commissions be far in between, so that way I'm not like constantly doing them. But at the moment, I don't know if I would be doing references. If I do, I'll have to come up with a price guide for it. How much was it before? Do I even have that anymore? Because like it may be dramatically different since the beginning. Yeah, I don't even have. Yeah, I think that was before I revamped everything. So yeah, I have no idea what I charged back then. And that was like back in 2008, maybe 2006, 2008. So yeah, I have no idea what I charged for that. And I think I dropped it just because it wasn't like a thing that I got commissioned to do a lot. I think there was only like one person that commissioned those. Just fix this. But yeah, I'll think about whether or not I'm gonna do those again. But I'm leaning more towards no. Right now I have no idea how I would want this character to be designed. So I'm just kind of winging it. Let's give him some head frills. Do it doesn't burn you out. Yeah. I probably won't do reference sheets because, like, if I were to do them nowadays, I'd probably have to charge a lot just because a lot of work goes into those. Because you're practically getting, like, multiple characters because it's, you know, the same character in different poses and stuff like that. And then if the character is getting clothing, then there's that version. Then there's the facial expressions, whatever other references that are supposed to go along with it, like hands, feet, backside, expressions, blah, blah, blah. So, assuming I do it, it'd be... I'd probably make it a little pricey. Or whatever my interpretation of pricey is. But yeah, currently not thinking about it. Okay, I got that. There we go. Poor SOB. Yeah, no idea if this will be her actual boyfriend, but it can be like either it's going to be just an anonymous character for this pick, or like a rough version of him. Since I haven't really decided on his looks yet, because it'll be a while before we even see Pumpkin Pie's storyline, so plenty of time to really think him over. Alright, okay, so he's being sat on. Probably put like a t-shirt or something on him. There we go. Something simple, nothing complicated. Do-do-do. I'll probably make his cheeks a little red when I color. There we go. Exactly what you imagined the baptism. If I were to make this the baptism, I would make it a little bit more more fun than this. It'd be like a big woman sitting on somebody, but then she'd be like, okay, two things: either she's like covered in sweat, and he's being like drenched in the whoever's being baptized is being drenched in the sweat, or she's sitting on the character, and then like they're underneath or they have holy water poured on them, or whatever they consider holy water poured on them, and then that is what drenches the person. So like it goes down the thick body, and then down all the curves and creases and stuff like that, and then there you go. Which probably sounds, either sound good, to be honest. Yeah, exactly. And I was like thinking over storylines I could do last night, because I'm like, okay, I'm totally gonna do this, but I need to work on getting faster at putting stuff out. So, been going over what I've been doing, what I do each day, and I'm like, okay, so after the stream, I'll take an hour break, just so I can get something to eat or whatever. And then start working on whatever it is I need to work on that has priority. So whether it be Patreon or a comic page or something. And then after that, if I have some time, I will work on whatever Secrets comic that I have planned out, or Archives comic, either or, and then go from there. So I've already been thinking about how I'm going to do the Secrets comic with the slime ice cream and all that. So I've been planning that out. And yeah, I'm just gonna push for it, cause I got super hyped yesterday. So I was like, okay, I need to make plans happen. And then streams are a good way for me to work on some stuff too. The stuff that I can work on. So if I have time, I can even work on card game artwork. Because making the cards doesn't really take that long. It's the artwork that takes a while. Because the next card game set is the Greenfield one. So I'm thinking of having from Raz to Lemon Lime the first 7. Or no, first 6, I should say. And then you'll have other cards for other archetypes and stuff like that, like more I-Hat cards and other archetypes that have either come around already or some new ones. And, just go from there. So when that set is ready, I'll push that out, because I still gotta, once it's done, I gotta order the proofs to see if there's any problems and stuff like that. And then after that, it'll be ready. And then, move on from that. Yeah, I'm gonna be tweaking their mechanic a bit, because one of the mechanics that they had before, because I had like a series of cards before that were already made, but I noticed that one, because like Marcy still had this, but she has but that's why hers got kind of tweaked a bit. Initially they're all supposed to have just like, versions of themselves that you gradually move up on. So like you'll get like skinny to chubby to chunky to just huge and all that. But then I realized that, that's like pretty not costly, but like that's like a lot of work to get to a card that may get defeated pretty early. So I'm going to be adjusting how their mechanics work, so that way it's easier to get to the fatter versions, but not like overpowered. Because like even Marcy's in the comic took a while to actually get to, because you had to like commit to giving her a bunch of food. So I still want the commitment, but I don't want it to be like, oh, if her or any other fat based characters are defeated, it's not like a huge slog to get back into the groove. So I'm gonna have like a lot more of food support cards, because Skylar kind of is like the main one, or at least his had like a lot of big food support. So like, he can always bring them back from scrap and stuff like that. So I just want like more aid in that, but just try to balance it out as best as I can, so it's not like, oh, I can't get rid of these food cards, they just keep coming back. Because the only one that I acknowledge is broken is the cupcake, but that's on purpose. And if it ever became like, if the card game ever got popular, and it actually became like something people were actually playing and shit like that, then eventually the cupcake would get banned, or at least limited to one copy a deck. And if it did get banned, I would just replace it with a nerfed with like a weaker, not weaker, but like a nerfed version of it that has the same ability, is just more resource heavy. Because I don't want to get rid of mechanics. I would just rather make them make you more committed to it. There we go. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Because I always thought that was stupid in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's like, here's this card that's, known for doing what it does, but then we're going to take that card, we're going to rewrite what it does, and now it's no longer the card it was. You might as well have just made a new card and kept the original, like Crush Card Virus. I think Crush Card Virus is the one that pisses me off the most. Yeah, like the level monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! were a trip at some points. BRB, gotta let the dog out. Alright. Be safe. Okay, so pretty much got what I wanted with that. Where's the tag and show up? Okay, that's not bad. I can just leave that up. Set this up so I can color. And these colorings are going to be pretty easy, because Astacasts aren't very color, or they don't get rendered. Unless I'm like really specifically trying to do something. Should be good. Inverse. No, I just need Pumpkin Pie's color. Get you, and get your hair. There we go. Bop. Let's see. Okay, should be good. Fill in some spots. There we go. Okay. Next. Oh yeah, gotta get her tail. Should I move? Nah, I'm not gonna move it over because she can always just curve her body. Keep it that way on purpose. Love how she has a skirt as if it's hiding anything. Might make a white outline for that, or for this, but we'll see. Okay, outfit. I might actually have to... No, I can grab Eden, because Eden is their color. There we go. Grab these. It's the same color as her eyeliner, so I'll just make those the same. Alright. Oh yeah, I need to get her fingers, but I'll do that later. Boop. Alright. This is gonna go pretty quickly. I'll need to reference what I use for her dialogue box. Should be green lines with orange center, but I'll have to check. There we go. It dawned on me that I don't think I've drawn her from behind, so like, okay, I can make up how her outfit stays on, or at least her top. Okay, got those. I'll do this with her eyeliner. Nope, I do not want you to select the line art. Oh, you did not. That was weird. I think I just caught you in a autosave. Okay, those, and I should get this one too. There we go. There we go. Okay, next. Let's get the metal. Actually, I don't need that, but I can get her hands. I do need this, though, so let me grab it. There we go. Metal. Right? She's like, yeah, I'll wear clothes, I guess. Though if she wasn't wearing clothes, I wouldn't be able to stream this. I'm like, nope, too lewd. Gotta back out. Plus, she understands the appeal of clothing, because clothing adds to the imagination. Because if you're always taking clothes off, or you're always like, having a character be naked and showing the goods all the time, then it kind of loses the appeal to if you do it too often. So you gotta balance that out every once in a while. That way it keeps things interesting. Marsley taking notes. Well, yeah, the same way can go for like content in general. Like when people are get upset that the cream-filled rolls can go back to their original size, and it's like, well, yeah, their whole gimmick is gaining weight. If I were to keep it that way for the entirety of the series, it would just be very, very, very boring, and there really wouldn't be much to the pages. It would just be big blobs the entire time, and there wouldn't be much to work with. It would be like, where's the sense of progression? And obviously this depends on the story, but hold on. Like, obviously it depends on the storyline and stuff like that, but you gotta take, like, unless your comic is completely comedy where there's no like actual there's no like actual world building and stuff like that, then all it's gonna do is just involve like what's the phrase? It's like you're breaking reality for the sake of doing it, and there's no sense of like urgency or scale, because then it's like, okay, a character can become the size of a building now, so, and then you just kind of move on because you either seen it before, or you don't feel like it's or it's like it's a issue, like there's no problem solving that needs to be had. Just telling my friend I'm streaming. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make him blue, just so he offsets her a bit. Can always change. Like I said, I can always make this character not her boyfriend. But I think a bird character would be a good match. Or, I don't know, I could always switch it up, make him a goat. Today is Wednesday, right? Okay. I'm a little tripping out for a moment. Has it really been 40 minutes already? Jesus, what have I been doing? I feel like I just pressed play on the stream. Yeah, that's true. Like, obviously, them being able to revert it also can be a takeaway. And so that's why the context of whatever storyline that they're in matters heavily. And the same goes for like the characters that can, or that just constantly get bigger and bigger. The context of their world also needs to take into account. So it just depends on what is the context of their world building and what is, if there's any like established limits, if there's any like whatever, like, because obviously it depends on the story, so it's like whatever their sense of urgency is, or whatever obstacles that are in front of them that come up at whatever time. So it just heavily depends on what's going on to make it feel like whatever it is they're doing was earned, or is interesting. Like, oh, this character's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because then you boil down to like, okay, is there any continuity to these stories? Like if one storyline has a character becoming the size of a mountain, are they going to be the size of a mountain in the next story or in the next chapter, or so on? And if so, and they get bigger than that, then, you know, where's the limit? And if there isn't a limit, if they're like, let's just say they're the size of a galaxy, what is there to do? Other than, you know, obviously they're probably going to eat the sun or something. But it's like, where do you go? Like, are you going to start over at a certain point? Or are you just going to find some way to keep going, and then it's going to be really, really, really difficult to make it interesting? Yeah. And like when in Marcy's case, when I mentioned that she lost weight, that was more in the context of whatever her max was, because we still never see her at her max, because she's still bigger than what she was in the main comic. And when she's an adult, she's still bigger than what she was in the main comic for True Ending and all that. But we never see her at her like biggest. She just mentions that she lost weight. That's it. So if I ever did like a side comic where, like, I don't know, before she had kids, that I show that off, then we'll have like a sense of, okay, this was her max. Let's lessen up his eyelashes a bit. I always draw long eyelashes. There we go. Do. So yeah, it all just heavily depends on the context of whatever it is we're talking about, because saying that a character who doesn't lose weight is a bad thing is not true at all. It just heavily depends on the context of the world and story. Because that's like the only time I ever have issues with like characters getting huge. It's just that it feels like the world wasn't built for them for that kind of body type in mind. Not so much like, oh, you know, like a character's big that they can't fit through doors or anything like that. It's like, no, it feels like the world suddenly shifts to have them fit. So like, for example, if a character becomes like 2 stories tall, they can just suddenly enter a mall. And like they're walking around huge inside of the mall, and like you have like background characters being amazed at the character's size, and I'm like, wait, why are you guys amazed at the character's size? Because the mall was built with that in mind, because the character was just easily able to walk inside. And so if that's the case, then that means this isn't as uncommon as it seems. So it's more of like, if you're gonna make reality bend to have these characters do these ridiculous things, then you gotta like tweak the world to adjust to that. If that makes sense. Like, you gotta make it believable that this is supposed to be amazing, or this is supposed to be not normal. Because I know in some worlds they try to explain some of that, where it's like, oh, you know, when characters get huge, we have buildings that are stretchy or something like that. Like, they try to explain it, but then that brings up other questions once you establish stuff like that. So it's really difficult if you're not paying attention to it all the time. It's like it's really challenging if you're trying to have a lived world. Exactly. Yeah, that's why I try to make a lot of the Creamfield girls like interesting outside of the weight gain stuff, because it's like, yeah, they can get fat and all that, but what else do they do? And that's why they have their own personalities and storylines going on, like, you know, Kiwi playing cards, or finding out that Apricot is a masochist, you know, stuff like that. Yeah. So like in the world that I have, there are bigger characters, but there are also like um regions for, or in areas for each of them, so it's not like they can just suddenly go everywhere. It just depends on where they've settled up, and if the areas that they live in can accommodate for them. Sorry, friend's still texting me. But yeah, like it's just stuff that you got to think about, because there's nothing wrong with having like cartoony logic where, you know, you can just reset, do whatever, make the character fat, be done, and, you know, reset again, and like have no actual continuity. It's just, you know, whatever zany idea you have for that particular day or story or whatever. So like, for example, I could have just had the Creamfield girls go like, you know, okay, today they're gonna eat cake and get huge. Tomorrow they're gonna eat donuts and get huge. Next day, oh no, a truck crashed and all the ice cream is pouring out in the city and they gotta eat it all. Like, I can easily do that and not have to think, but it's just not what I wanted to do. Because that was almost what they were going to do in the beginning. Like, it was just going to be nonsense. But then I decided to just give them a story to tie it into other stuff that I was doing. Can I still do that? Sure. Not sure how often that would be, because there's only so many times I would just run through the motions before it got either boring or just too samey. But who knows? But that's why I also have like other characters and stuff, so that way I can spice things up by having like a different set of characters, different scenario, different context. Sometimes the reasons can be similar, but I can try to not make it like one to one the same. Where it's like, okay, this is the part where the character questions why they're so big. This is the part where they say, "Oh no, this feels so great." It's kind of like when you read certain hentai, and like certain characters start like running their mouths and saying like odd dialogue that just doesn't fit the situation. It's like that. Yeah, like being too big for the region is fine, but like you gotta make sure that whatever your story is fits the scenario. Like if you have like a giant walking around a normal town, then have characters react, have appropriate responses to that situation. But if it's just like, here's a small building, but then suddenly they're able to get inside and walk around normally, then that's where it's like, okay, wait, is the building warping to that character's body in order for them to walk around inside, or what's happening here? So you just gotta establish things so that way it makes enough sense to not be questioned all the time. Because one of the things you gotta think about is once you establish a character being capable of doing something, then you can't say that they're not able to do it the next time that you do it, or that you put them in a situation like that. It's kind of like in what was that show called? Was it? I think it was called Once Upon a Time. There was like a situation where it's like, okay, you have these really powerful witches who can pretty much do whatever they want, because it seemed like there was no limit to any situation that they were doing, aside from like, okay, here's today's current strong character. But then they're like in a situation where it's like, okay, we can't enter this area without the moon, but the moon is covered up by clouds, and for some reason both the main character and like another character just were unable to move the fucking clouds for some fucking reason. And then it took like so much energy that they were finally able to move clouds. And I'm like, okay, why is it taking them so much strength to move clouds? And I don't, it's been a long time since I've seen that episode, so I'll have to like rewatch it just to refresh my memory on it more. But I don't recall there being like anything special about the clouds, other than that the clouds were put there to block to make them unable to enter a certain area. And I was like, okay, are these like powered up clouds here, or like what's happening here? Why is so much effort being spent on these goddamn clouds of all things? But then like when they get to like the main villain for that season, they almost defeat the villain with like very little effort. And I'm like, well, damn, we should have had the villain be clouds, because apparently they couldn't do shit to those. So it's just like one of those situations where it's like you gotta make it make sense based on like power scaling. To be fair, have you tried moving clouds? Yes. It's called a fan. or using an airplane to move through clouds, like to move them. Yes, it's doable. And granted, this was in like a magical world, because it was supposed to be, I think, Neverland. But like there was like nothing establishing what was so supernatural about these clouds, except that they were just positioned in front of the moon. That was it. And I could be wrong, so I'm likely gonna refine that episode and watch it just to know if there was like anything special about the clouds. But that was like one thing that I sat there when like, wait, why are they struggling against fucking clouds? And this was like, I don't know, season 3 or 4 or something like that. And I'm sitting there going like, okay, they've done crazier things than this. Why are clouds making it such a challenge? That was a good season though with Neverland. That was a really good one. I think it's called Once Upon a Time, if I remember right. Like I stopped watching it after Neverland because I think Neverland was peak. They had Marilyn Manson play as Peter Pan's shadow. That shit was cool. But yeah, like that was like the one like they've done a lot of bullshit stuff in that show. But that was like the one thing that just kind of like triggered me. I was just like, "Wait, why are you guys struggling against clouds of all things?" Like it literally took like 2 or 3 people to move the clouds. Stream title: Viro yells at clouds. Oh my god, I should just get a picture of Abe Simpson just shaking his fist at clouds. But yeah, it's like, because like we're coming from a show where it's like, you know, characters can rip hearts out of people, cast a freaking reality spell to the point where everybody in fucking fairy tale land forget who they are. We can do all this shit, but moving clouds, nah. That's fucking S tier level shit right there. Final season gets stupid. I might attempt to rewatch that series. It might piss me off to some point at some points, but I'll probably rewatch it. But Peter Pan arc was definitely my favorite. I enjoyed that season a lot. Like I think I tapped out once I found out that Elsa from Frozen was going to be added. I was like, all right, I think I'm good here. Let's try 50%. Maybe I just need to make it thinner. No, that's not going to look right. I'll just redo it. Yeah, I heard one of my friends who kept watching it told me a little bit about that. I'll be honest, when I watched the original movie or Brave, like the actual movie, I'll be honest, the only thing that got interesting in that whole movie was when the mom got turned into a bear. Which that I mean, you know, coming from a furry, that in of itself is already hot. But then like the relationship that she was having with her mom while that was going on was a lot better. Everything else was just kind of like, okay, it's just Robin Hood without Robin Hood. It was just kind of like I'll be honest, I barely remember what the hell happens in that movie because it was just that uninteresting. But yeah, Bear Mom, best part of that whole movie. And I'm usually pretty decent at remembering movies, even if I've only watched it once. But it's like, if it didn't, like, last on me for whatever reason, then I'm like, I don't know. And then Frozen is just X-Men. At least the first movie. I don't know about I didn't watch the second or however many they made. But the first movie was just like, okay, it's literally X-Men. Because she has powers. And for whatever reason, they're trying to hide it, and they give her gloves like Rogue. But then, like, the weirdest part in that whole movie was where they tell her, or they, at the very beginning, they're like, oh, you know, she's going to have her powers, you need to, you know, take care of them, blah, 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 blah. But then her parents are like, you gotta hide this shit. And I'm like, wait, what? That's not what he said. You know what? Now I see what's wrong with this. I am putting the white lines in the wrong spot. That's why this looks weird. They need to go here on him. There we go. That looks better. Yeah, like Frozen wasn't a bad movie. I just don't understand why it got that fucking popular. Like, I honestly don't see it as that super amazing. Tangled was pretty good too. I don't know if it was like crazy good in comparison to Frozen. Like, if I like watching those two together, I just like them both separately for their own thing. I don't really think one is better than the other necessarily, because I can just sit down and enjoy either. But like, I have no clue why fucking Frozen got so fucking popular. And I guess it was just because of the song. But even then, I was just like, the song wasn't that great compared to most Disney songs. But I mean, if it's good, if it's popular, fine, whatever. I was just kind of surprised. I was just kind of like, okay, I watched the movie, I don't see why it was blowing everybody's minds here. I don't know, maybe people were just into the sister shipping. Maybe that was the case. That's like the only thing I could think of, honestly. Like, Princess and the Frog was good. Bolt would have been interesting if they had continued on making that in 2D the way they wanted to, but instead opted out to go 3D. Like, I would have loved to have seen how that version of the story would have gone. I just laughed that there's like very, very minor weight gain in Bolt. Like, for whatever reason, they just had to toss that in just a little bit. So I laughed at that part. I was like, they did it. Yeah, it's the scene where Bolt is with the cat, and they're trying to get they're trying to beg for food. And after that happens, the cat says, like, look at my stomach's distended, and they have like a bulge in their stomach. Yeah, it's very minor, but I just laughed that they even did it in the first place. Because no matter what, cartoons are going to do either weight gain, vor, transformation into some furry, probably something, what's the word I'm looking for? Risque or sexually suggestive. Like they'll always do that, but then like act surprised or it's like, oh, we didn't know people liked our characters that way. It's like, bitch, you went down the checklist here. You don't check all the boxes, but you definitely check at least one. Yeah, like Wreck-It Ralph, exactly. Like they don't do all of them, but they definitely check at least one every time. Sometimes you get two or three, but never all of them at once. Like you gotta be crazy to do that. You gotta be like totally spies to be checking all the boxes. But that's usually the case with most ongoing cartoons, where if you have an ongoing series, you're likely to check most, if not all, the boxes. But that only works for like cartoony series. It doesn't usually happen in more serious cartoons. Like they'll still have that stuff happen, but it'll be a lot more scarce because it's a more serious story. But yeah, like I can barely watch cartoons these days and not think of something lewd going on. It's like, here it goes. There it is. It's like that one show. What was it called? My friend showed it to me because her daughter watches it. I think it's called Vampirina or something like that. And like the main character's neighbor, who's a mom or whatever. Seriously, she has a huge ass, and I'm just like, okay, they threw this in for adults. Like, they have to give adults something to watch when the kids are watching shows like this. It's just like, Jesus. I think it was called Vampirina. I have to ask what the name was. But yeah, shit like that, I'm just sitting there going like, okay, they do this on purpose. Okay. Much better. Alright. Now I just need to have Pumpkin Pie say something, and we're pretty much done with this. Let me see if I have a file where she speaks, so that way I don't have to... Could use that one. Seems to be orange or green. You know what? I'll just do it this way. I can't think of anything recent erotic-wise in characters, but all these Yuri couples have been kind of cute now, like Owl House. I'm sure there's something. I haven't really been paying attention too much to recent cartoons. But anime is always going to have something like that going on. There's always going to be some sexual tension. Like, that's almost a given at this point. I would be more surprised if it didn't happen. Well, obviously it depends on the show, but I'd be more surprised if it didn't happen. And then, there's always going to be tropes, too, that happen. Because, that's why they're tropes. No, I haven't seen Tiger... Is it Tiger and Bunny or Tiger X Bunny? One of the two. I haven't seen that, but I know it's really good. I just have to actually sit down and watch it. There's a lot of shows that I'm fully aware are actually really, really, really good. I just have not sat down and watched it, and usually I get distracted with some other show. Like currently, I watch Kamen Rider, uh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush. Not so much because I think the storyline is any good, but I'm just curious on what they do with the cards. Because I'm kind of like trying to use it as partial research for my own card game and stuff like that, even though it's a whole other format in of itself. And then, what else am I watching? What is it called? I need to look it up because I can't remember the full name. What is it called? I'm watching Onichan wa Oshimai. It's basically about a guy whose sister drugs his drink, turns him into a girl, and I'm not 100% sure if it's supposed to be permanent or not, but like she's like helping him adjust to being a girl, and she's like jotting down data. So that's going on. And I guess there was like a small uproar about that for whatever reason. Kamen Rider is good. You can just jump in most seasons. The only like if you're just trying to start off with Kamen Rider, I suggest not watching Kamen Rider Go, which is ZI-O. Do not start with that one because that one is kind of like a partial sequel to other writers. So do not start with that one. Other than that, the rest are pretty okay, although personally I don't think Kamen Rider Ghost or Saber are the best. And that's mostly just because of the writing that happens in the writing style, where it's like we give the characters a goal, but then we have them achieve that goal like mid-season, and then instead of like giving them, something else to do, they just sort of reset the goal and do it all over again. So it's more like, it's like it would be like it having Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like, oh, we need the 7 Millennium items, and then we get them, but then they all get taken, and then we gotta do it again. And it's like, why did we even bother? Actually, no. Let's fix this. So yeah, it's just that situation where it's like you have the character have a definite goal, and then you just kind of redo it. Oh yeah, like they're all tokusatsu, which is basically like, that type of style of superhero, and like Beetleborgs, which are part of the Metal Heroes series in Japan. They're basically in like a similar universe. Like they do show up in a Kamen Rider / Super Sentai crossover, where there's a Super Sentai group called Gokaiger, which have the abilities to turn into every Power Ranger or every Super Sentai character. And at one point, they do get the Metal Heroes powers, so they turn into the Beetleborgs, basically. And it's actually really cool seeing that. I was like, oh shit, Beetleborgs. And Beetleborgs is interesting, because that series is like several different Metal Heroes put together. And they make it seem like... I can't remember if... I'm pretty sure each of the Metal Heroes were like different characters, whereas in Beetleborgs they were treated as like different forms, if I remember right. So there's that, and then the Gokaigers also can turn into Kamen Rider O's in all of his forms. So that was like another thing they did. Okay, pretty much done with this. Can save it. save. But yeah, like Metal Heroes is a interesting series as well. Because you got like Metal Heroes, you got Space Sheriff Gavin. He has his own like unique series that is pretty cool. There's even like a Kamen Rider like series for a disabled person who's like in a weird wheelchair, and they have like a series made for him. Let me see if I can remember the name. I forget his name. Because I just saw this recently, so I'm not like 100%. Oh, High Speed Parahero Gadine. Let me copy his name and put it in the chat. Or here's the Japanese name for it. But yeah, like I found out that was a series, so I'll probably check that out at some point, just for the heck of it. But I was like, oh, that's sick. They have a superhero for people who are disabled. Yeah, and I like that Super Sentai and Power Rangers are two different things. Like, obviously there'll be like footage that are taken from the Japanese version to use for the American version, but I like that they usually have their own unique storyline going on. There's only been like a few Power Rangers that have tried to closely adapt to the Japanese version, which honestly at this point they should just stick to doing their own thing, because I think trying to adapt the Japanese version is a bad idea, because at that point you might as well just do it, just translate the Japanese version with subs. Alright, let me see. So I got that question down. Let's see, what other question can I try to answer? Oh yeah, where is it? Yes, let's do this one. I think this one would be fun. So let me grab this person. But yeah, like, I think trying to adapt the Japanese version is a bad idea, because there's so much stuff that goes on that you just know a lot of it's going to get cut or heavily altered. So, even though like Kamen Rider Dragon Knight wasn't like my favorite, I mean, it's probably like the best adaptation so far, but that's like not saying much. But I do like that it was like pretty much its own thing. Because with the original Kamen Rider Ryuki, the whole premise... Oh, wait. Actually, no. Hold on. Because like with the original Kamen Rider Ryuki, the whole premise of that was basically a battle royale where whoever is the survivor gets a wish granted. That's basically it. Whereas Dragon Knight was, here's a bunch of riders, we're fighting mirror monsters, but then we're also trying to stop an alien race, or like an evil alien from taking over the world. But then there's also like doubles of us from another planet or some shit like that. So it was like convoluted, but it was also trying to be like Power Rangers, basically, like giving all the characters like a villain to focus on. Whereas in Kamen Rider Ryuki, there was no main villain. It was all about trying to survive. If there was a main villain, it was probably Kamen Rider Odin, who is basically like the one in charge of having the riders fight to the death. Because his whole thing was basically his sister was like the reason why the whole battle royale was a thing to begin with, because she was slowly dying. And so he was trying to take the life force from other riders to give to her. and there's like multiple timelines because time gets reset a few times. So depending on which timeline you follow decides on which part is, canonical. So yeah, because like there's like the movie timeline, there's the show timeline, there's Geo's timeline, and then there's the rewound time situation. So there's like I think or it might be based on the books or something like that. But yeah, there's like at least 4 different endings for this one writer season. And then there's like the TV special timeline, which is broken up into 2 timelines. So there's like 6. Yeah. So there's like 6 endings for this one writer. And it's funny because they recently re-shown Ryuki in Kamen Rider Geats, which is the current season. And Geats is a battle royale type of season as well. And currently in that one, it's basically like if you win the battle royale, you basically become God, and you can decide what happens to the world. Like you can just reshape it in your image. And this has happened like multiple times, so it's like it's not just we get to see it happen once. Like no, you see it happen like several times. So I'm enjoying that season. Like that season's only on like episode 19 or 20 right now, so it's not even over yet. It's interesting though because like the way they establish it is it's basically a tournament that where the people who are in charge come to you and give you the ability to become a Kamen Rider, and then they put you in the battle royale, and you basically write down what your wish is that you want to do to the world, and if you win, you basically get your wish granted. But if you lose, not only do you get sent back to your normal life, but whatever motivated you for your wish is stripped away from you. So like, for example, let's just say your wish was to help people. Well, if you lose, you basically lose your drive to help people, so you basically become selfish or just more self-centered or not willing to help people at all. But then you can also die, so there's that too. You can just straight up die. So yeah, like that's a thing in Geats so far. You should have left with dying. That's dying is odd the way they're treating it in that season, because there's more to it than just dying in Geats so far, because like they're still explaining that currently. But let me get some reference for these. But right now, like just losing because like you basically get different rounds and you're tasked to do different things in the battle royale. So like let's just say one of the challenges is defeat this monster in 3 minutes or something like that. So you'll get challenges like that, and whoever comes in last is the one that gets retired, and those are the people who are sent back to their normal lives and lose their will of whatever drove their wish. So you have shit like that happening. And like when Kamen Riders die, they make it like really fucking impactful, because like they make you give a shit about whoever is about to die, even if they're like a pretty minor character, because they give you just enough to care. Let's see, Blake, Flat Blake, Evil version of Blake, and Lemon Line. I'm surprised there's so many versions of Blake and not just rabbit characters in general, but I'll do it. But I'll probably toss in more rabbits. Oh yeah. It just says Blake. It doesn't say which ending Blake. So part of me wants to do the adult version, because I've already drawn the other two pretty fair amount. So let me go grab that Blake. And I'll probably put her up on the screen just so we have something to look at. So yeah, like, it's interesting what Kamen Rider does with their storylines, because when a character dies, you're just sitting there going like, alright, how's this going to work, or what's the most messed up thing that's going to happen with that character? We'll see about putting her on this side. Like, I would say one of the character deaths from X-Aid was pretty messed up. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of having put in Chewy Chewy, since she's also a rabbit. And this eye is mostly just a placeholder. Actually, it's easier to do it this way. How did the Beast People come to be in my world? Basically, what's the best way of putting this? Basically, a god had basically a god gets created. She gets basically taken care of by a human, and he's trying to go through the typical teaching her things and stuff like that. Well, she ends up eventually, reading up on story, like fairy tales and stories and stuff like that, as well as like different takes of religion, and she starts to slowly turn those things into reality because she's capable of doing that. And eventually, like, long story short, she eventually just wipes the world and resets it to a point where, well, not, it's like she like rewrites and resets it and makes like things that weren't normally possible happen. So like bestials become like part of the evolutionary chain, so they become like people and shit like that. But it also allows like very complicated crossbreeding to happen. So like Becky, for example, is a possibility. So that's how it is. Long story short, it's like basically a god warped reality to the point where they're capable of existing. And I'll just do this, so that way it's easier to shape what I need. Also, does make me want to skip. I mean, that's like one of the good parts about Kamen Rider is, like, for the most part, you can start with any season. Very rarely do they like sometimes they'll address an older season, but it's not usually part of their plot. The only Kamen Riders, like the only Kamen Rider I would say you need to be aware of about that is Gio, because his series has to do with kind of like almost, it's like semi sequels to older writers and like semi closures to older writers, but It's kind of hit and miss because some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't make sense to do. It's like, why did you do this? It was already perfect the way it was, type of situation. And then you have Kamen Rider Decade. Decade does something similar where it's like introducing older writers and stuff, but the way that Decade does it is a lot better because instead of, giving you the original writers, they give you alternate versions of the writers. So you get like, their own personal histories and stuff like that. And so it helps show off those older writers, but without spoiling any of their story. Like, they might hint to something, but they won't straight up tell you what happens. I think the only character that they do that with is in a movie. But by that point, you're pretty much already in. So yeah, like, for a starter writer, I would say Kamen Rider Decade is the best starter because he introduces you to a bunch of other writers that you might like. Doesn't spoil much, if anything. And then his season specifically is only like 32 episodes, so it's really short in comparison to everyone else's. Because everyone else's is like 45 to 48 to sometimes 50 episodes. So his is like really easy on people who are just beginning with Kamen Rider. So I would say as a starter, start with Decade because he's such a better starter writer. But after that, pretty much any writer is perfectly fine to start with or to watch, other than Geo, because Geo requires you to watch every other Kamen Rider before him, at least in the Heisei area. So like from Kuga to Build, it's recommended that you watch their stuff before him because he spoils the shit out of a lot of things. But yeah, like, O's is really good, Double is really good, X-Aid's really good, Gaim's really good, Drive. Revice is really good. Revice is interesting because it's technically an anniversary writer as well, similar to Geo and Decade, but his season doesn't spoil anything. It's more like just references to other writers, and that's it. Actually, let's give her a grin. But yeah, Decade is definitely a really good beginner's Kamen Rider because it just pulls you in with interesting characters and stuff because it just makes you want to learn more about the writers. Because when I first watched, because I knew about Masked Rider from Power Rangers and all that, but getting in the Kamen Rider, I started with Decade because that was the first one I came across. And because he looked interesting, I was like, oh, what's this? Decade. And then I start from the beginning. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And it's probably just because, I was already into watching stuff like that. And I think I had watched like a little bit of Super Sentai before him. Because I think the first Super Sentai that I got into was Deca Ranger, which was Power Rangers SPD. but Deca Ranger is so much better. Um, but other than that, it was just Decade. And like after learning about some of the writers from Decade, I was like, oh, I want to watch those seasons, not realizing that the versions in Decade were vastly different from the originals because they're supposed to be alternate universe versions. And so, getting into those writers, I basically got to learn new shit, which was great because it wasn't like you like, oh, I watched Decade, so I know what this character's like. No, 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 no. You get a whole other character, and it's great. Because now it's like, cool, I was already into this writer because of their aesthetic. Now I'm even more into this writer because now I get this whole storyline and show going on. So it's like really, really cool how Decade properly wraps you into, or pulls you into other Kamen Riders. Whereas Geo is like, hey, do you remember this Kamen Rider? Did you watch it? Because this is gonna happen. And you're like, oh shit, I should probably watch those other writers then before I watch this. So yeah, Geo is definitely like, do not watch until you've watched everyone else. Yeah, Decade is cool. I like his design. He's one of my favorite writers. And Decade's personality is great too. He's like kind of like a smug asshole, but he's like just nice enough where it's like, all right, he's not a total dick, but but he has his whole like I'm better than you type of personality. But he's really cool. Like he shows up in Geo, and he's just way better than Geo. And they do a good job portraying him. With the only exception to that is the special that they have together, where it's basically Geo versus Decade, and they fuck both characters over in that story. Like that story was garbage, and I don't know why they went through with that. Or that special was just like, why? Like literally, the fan base treats that special as a fucking joke. Oh yeah, I'll type in Geo just so you know how his name is spelled. Yeah, it's spelled like that, but it's pronounced with like a J. Because there's another Kamen Rider whose name is spelled like this, but it's pronounced like this. Because there's Geo and then there's Zecto. But it's also written as ZO. Yeah, it's very confusing. Like, let me grab Geo's name real quick, so I can get the proper pronunciation for it. Because the way it's written is like with a J sound. Here we go. Copy. So just think of it like this. Yeah. I don't know why they did that. Because the same thing happens with another writer. Because there's a writer named Kamen Rider Blade, right? But then later on, they have another Kamen Rider named Blades, with an S at the end. And I'm like, you could have called him Knives, you could have called him Dagger, you could have called him any other bladed weapon, but you named him Blades. And I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. It's like I almost think that they forgot that they had a writer named Blade and made his name, and then they're like, oh shit, we already put his name on promotional stuff. We'll just call him Blades with an S. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, they could even wrote it in that he changes his name or something. Like, they didn't even have to, like, commit to it. They could have just changed his name. Blades. I will never get over that. Like, smart writing, everybody. And then Ghost got screwed over because before they got whoever wrote for the actual season to work on it, when they first show him off in Kamen Rider Drive's movie, Ghost is way more creepy. And he's doing like the typical, Ghost tropes and mannerisms, like, like appearing from behind you and putting their arm around your shoulder type of thing. Like, he was doing shit like that, and he made him really, really, really cool. But then when his show came out, it was written by a different person, and they took away all of the creepiness that he had. Yeah, like, Ghost looks cool. Like, everything about Ghost is cool. Just his story is the only thing that sucks. It's like, man, would have been really cool if you had just stuck with him being a creepy ghost person. But nah, it's gotta be about, power of friendship and saving well, it's not even about saving historical figures. It's just the power of friendship and, being super kind. And it's just like, man, you made him so goddamn generic compared to when he first showed up. Like, hold on, let me find what I mean. Where is it? I'll just put it a link for you to watch whenever you want. Kamen Rider Ghost Drive. No, not Driver. Copy. Where is it? There it is. Copy, link address. Yeah, so if you ever feel like taking a moment to watch this... Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's get a better link to... Or... Pause. There we go. Copy. It was giving me like a whole fucking line. I was like, no. There we go. So yeah, if you ever check out this video, this is when Ghost first appears in the series, and he is so much better in this very short clip than he is in the actual show. And the sad part is, like, I will say the first half of the actual show is fine. It's just after that half where it starts getting bad, and like other characters end up becoming more interesting than him. But yeah, like, I envy the timeline that has Creepy Ghost as a writer. Or as a main, his main personality. still have to do this part with her hair. Although her eyes look a little too lively. Let's kind of narrow that down a bit. Oh, thank you for the follow. Juju the Sheep. I like that name. The name sounds cool. I like that. Oh yeah, I should probably save what I have of this so I don't lose it. Save. No, I'm not drawing her naked. I usually do this before I add in on like all the clothing detail and all that. If I was going to draw her naked, I would not be able to do so on this stream. It would have to be on Picardo. Picardo is where I'm going to do all the risque stuff. Let's fix her cheek a bit. Will there be a version of her nude? Not for this, because this is just asking or answering Patreon questions. So depending on the question would indicate whether or not I would do something risque. But in this particular case, no. Yeah, most of the time it just depends on the question. But usually for the Aztecast, I try to avoid it unless there's just something that involves it. Let's see. Headphones sliding off. Okay, so get your ear. Do I want her wearing her suit? I can always just have her wear something standard or something casual. Nah, this is fine. Can always draw her casual in some other situation. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if you, I've said this before, if you enjoy Ghost or any other writer, despite what I say about it, like my own opinions and stuff like that, that's perfectly fine. It's just my take of it, of where watching it and following the storyline that they had, just certain parts of it just started to be very underwhelming and started to fall apart. So if you watch like the Ghost show and you end up liking it, that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm never gonna tell you, oh my god, you like Ghost, that you're so dumb, or that's so stupid, or something like that. Like, I'm never gonna say that. So all I can say is, like, watch with an air of caution, I guess, from based on my personal views of it. But if you end up enjoying it, that's perfectly fine. Like, I would rather you enjoy whatever writer you enjoy than to dislike it just because I didn't like it. But in terms of, like, which writer should you start watching, as long as it's not Geo, because of how the way that the story is done in that particular writer's story, as long as you don't start off with Geo, you're pretty much fine with everybody else. Thinking of Blake, then do you think we're gonna see? Probably not. Blake, I mean, there's a possibility that we might start her comic this year, but I'll be honest, I have no idea if we'll get there fast enough. So I'm gonna say no, but I will be surprised if we do. I will say most likely it'll start next year, if I had to take a wild guess. Try not to do too much with her, because there's still other characters I need to draw. So maybe I will put her in something casual. Let me just grab her scars. And then the question is... Oh no, I can just use this version. Yeah, I think I'll draw a casual just to save some time. There we go. Yeah, like, don't let what I say taint your own personal opinions. If you like something, you like something. If you don't, you don't. It's like when people ask me if My Little Pony is good, and I say I like it because I enjoy it for whatever reasons I enjoy it for. And if they come back and say, like, oh, I tried watching it, but I didn't really like it, I was like, that's fine. As long as you gave it a shot, that's all I can ever ask you to do. It's like, I'm not going to bash on somebody for not liking something that I like. You ever felt a rock before? That's how hard the callus is. Yeah, I know I make a lot. It still doesn't feel like I make enough, though. Or it just feels like I'm not doing enough. Like looking at the things that I do, I likely do way more than I should. As well, because like I've been told that I put out more content than most content creators in comic wise. Because like some people mostly do like maybe one page a week. Sometimes, I mean, it depends on the art style too. Because like if your comic is primarily black and white, you can probably crank out 2 to 3 pages, maybe even more, a week. So obviously it depends on art style, but I've been told that I do a lot more a week than at least the artists that those people had followed. So, because like I try to do comic pages, art sets, Patreon stuff, card game. Now I'm doing the whole streaming thing, which luckily I'm trying to like combine that with working on whatever artwork I have to work on, so that way I'm not like losing time necessarily. But streaming is also helping me with like putting out casual artwork, so like, you know, just stuff for fun, because I've noticed that I haven't really done much of that. And then since we reached 60 followers, I have to work on Becky having a nun costume for streams now. So that'll be fun, because we got to spread the word of the Thibel. That reminds me, I still need to animate her coffee mug. And I need to brush up on animation, because I want to do more animation stuff. Oh yeah, this version does not have anything on her hand, so this one's fine. But I'm working on it. I'll do as much as I possibly can. Gets butt stuck in the doorway. Where are you, Jam? Nah, Jam would still just go through, regardless if it was stuck on something. She wouldn't give a fuck. In fact, she would just blame the door frame. It was like, why is this door frame so small? Let me zoom in on that just in case. Lots of bun action going on. And it's only January. There we go. Oh yeah, I definitely like that video. When I refresh on animation, I would definitely like to do one of something similar with Jam, because that'd be funny. It's like, why not? I think that would be a fun time. Give her some shorts. this down a bit. Yeah. And he's like very, very, very tall compared to that character that got smushed. But that was funny. I enjoyed that video. I like videos like that. I usually save them, so I saved it on my drive to reference later. Because luckily you can save videos from Twitter. You have to do it off-site, but it's still doable. So I save what I like, and I like what I save. Let's tighten this up just a little bit more. I'll probably just have her arm outwards a bit. Is her tail showing on this one? No, it's not, because she's in a straightforward pose. There's a character bigger there, Pumpkin. That's interesting. Alright. I will have to look at your scars over here on this screen, because these are more risque that I cannot show on the stream. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that by the creator. Hold on for a moment, I'm just looking for Naked Blake. Well, there's that one, but I have a more recent one. There we go. Not really much, but wanted to make sure I try to get her scars right. About here. Whatever. Probably shouldn't be too fixated on trying to get these accurate. He says as he tries to make it accurate. Because like I'm looking at a different reference than the Blake that's on the screen right now. Because I made the scars a little different. Whatever. Like I said, I shouldn't be fixated on trying to make it accurate, because it's almost impossible to get them the same over and over without, like, I don't know, having an initial look and then just copy and pasting and adjusting the angle. So that might be the case if I ever do it in the future. How would Blake feel about getting a glass eye? She'd be against it. Because she would rather just keep the way she looks. It's more of a... What's the word I'm looking for? Not necessarily a reminder, but just... It's what makes her her. If that makes sense. I guess kind of a sense of pride. In a way. Based on the chain of events that resulted in her losing an eye. This is future Blake. You scar her how you want. Scars would fade a far bit over 10 years. True. Hers are in an interesting spot because... What's the way of phrasing it? Not necessarily magic, it's just they were healed in a certain way to be lasting. Because they were supposed to be a form of punishment. But she kind of just, took it as earning her stripes because of her family. Because they're not necessarily normal scars. Like, they're normal in the sense of how she got them, they're just not normal in the sense of how they healed up. Mia, on the other hand, will probably have her scars fade over time. Can't show her, though, because she's always naked. There we go. Sometimes I don't know what to do with my left arm because it's like... It's usually on, like, the keyboard for, like, shortcuts, but then once I'm in the groove and start drawing, it's just kind of sitting there. It's like, what am I supposed to do? So I, like, put it on my hip, and I'm like, it's kind of weird. It's like, should I just put it on the keyboard? And I was like, I guess. I don't know, just kind of chilling. Just vibing. Idea came, mine based on a video. Jam goes on a rant because the house is a mess, seeing that she's about to go into a lecture mode. Raz tries to sneak by. I could do something like that with Raz. That'd be kind of funny. Shape this chin just a little more. There we go. And just have her wearing like a sports outfit. Okay, so pretty much got Blake. Next is... We'll do... Where is she? No. Where are you? Ah, there you are. It's a lot of different Blakes. Put this liner on another layer just in case. Should probably label these so I know who the hell is who. I'll just label this one Evil Blake. Wait, do you look up or down when drawing like you look at a pad or a screen? I am looking at a screen because I used to have a drawing pad where I just had to like look up at the screen and, you know, just let my hand move. But that got really weird, and I just could not get used to that. So I have a Wacom pad so I can draw directly on the screen. Because it feels more direct. Okay, so this one's older and this one's younger. This man doing all this with a Wacom pad while looking at chat, deciding what to do with his other arm, and you're comfy. You're uncomfy. Well, because like my other arm's just sitting here not doing anything unless I need to use the keyboard for a shortcut, and that's kind of it. Like I know I'm supposed to use like the little side buttons on the Wacom pad, but like I never really need to. It probably saved me a headache too because I could just program it to use the shortcuts that I use on the keyboard, but the keyboard is just easier. Luckily, I don't have to do guidelines very often, so that saves me time. Let's fix this eye. I don't really like that. There we go. Make her look like a bitch. Do. Okay, so this hair, I'll mess with her cheek fur later. Yeah, let's do a little less than that. I like the uniform, so I'm going to keep her in that. Funny enough, this version of Blake is actually referencing a character that would be for another story later down the line. That's why that robot on the bottom corner is there, because that's another character named Marcy. But the character that Evil Blake is referencing is a character who treats that version of Marcy horribly until finding out that Marcy's like whole background and like, you know, what's her deal and shit like that, and she comes to realize like, you know, Marcy's dealing with a whole bunch of shit already and doesn't need her adding to it. It's like, damn, I'm an asshole, and she's already worried about bigger shit. Probably be a little bit on the side. No. This version of Blake is just referencing another character. Like, this version of Blake doesn't really have much going on story wise, because I don't use her at all in Evil Marcy's story. But in the storyline that Evil Blake is referencing, that version treats the robot down here, this character, that character treats this Marcy horribly because she's a robot. And, you know, like, the school that they go to, like, the robot characters get mistreated and stuff like that. And she later on finds out that this Marcy is actually being operated by her organic form, like because her body is basically in stasis. So she's kind of living through the robot. And so that character is like, oh shit, I'm a total asshole. And she tries to do better by that character. Yeah, it's a little confusing because I'm using Blake for the example. I will look at that later, Frost. Because I can, because I'll have my audio. Assuming there is any audio, the audio will bleed over. But I'll look at that after the stream. But yeah, in that storyline, there's another Marcy who's a robot, and she gets mistreated because she's a machine. Oh, it's a pic, not a video. Okay, I'll take a look real quick. Oh yeah, that big. I'll have to save that later. Yeah, but Jam's perfect the way she is. She doesn't need to be huge. It's not about the size, it's how you use it. Because, yeah, like, realistically, if we're going by actual sizes, like, Pumpkin Pies and maybe Peach are bigger than Jam. But they have, like, different, you know, shapes and stuff like that. Because, like, Pumpkin Pies is probably more flabby because she's a slob. And, Peach is probably more... What's the way I want to phrase it? Not dumpy, but like, not as shapely, because I would say Jams is more like a bubble butt type of style, whereas Peach is like more standard. And if we're counting Coconut has more of a mom bod. We got the Church of Thick. Oh, I have pair characters. Some of them I've shown, some of them I haven't. Oh, as in a character named Pear. I think I was trying to avoid having a lot of characters with the letter P in their name, because there was like several, and so I was trying to intentionally avoid it. And then I think, like, I don't know if this was my mindset at the time, but I think I was trying to avoid being too on the nose with Pear. It's like, Pear is pear-shaped, But I went with Peach, who is technically pear-shaped, based on her figure. I like how a lot of people got confused over why I chose a fish for cheese. Yeah, that's true. One size is not holier than the others. No. That's the sign that I should save. There we go. Huh. Thought I gave her earrings. Apparently not. That's okay. I can always save it for the other character. But yeah, why make cheese a fish? Mostly just because I wanted a fish character. Originally, cheese wasn't even gonna be cheese. It was gonna be mayo, and then mayo was gonna be a goat. But then I already had watermelon, who was a deer, so I already had a character with horns. So, so I chose not to do it. And then I almost didn't choose a fish because I had white pomegranate, but she was an octopus, so she wasn't necessarily a fish. So I went with a fish. And there you go. There's the origin of cheese and why she's a fish. There you go. The mystery solved. So I'm singing the messed up lewd version of SpongeBob's Fun Song. Oh, Jesus. Should we just find a bunch of kink words? Yeah, and like I've had other fish characters outside of the I've had other animal characters outside of the Creamfield cast, but for them specifically, I wanted to vary it up. That's why I was trying to avoid using too many like bird characters or too many like I was trying not to repeat certain characters, certain animals. Like even if they were like too similar. Like I almost didn't go with a cat for Bacon, just because I've already had pretty numerous cat characters to begin with. But I was like, there's no cat here, and Raz is not a cat, so might as well toss in the cat character. So that's why we got Bacon. And originally, Bacon was going to be called Baloney. And then I was thinking about calling her Meat. But then eventually settled on Bacon. Hold on a moment. Let the questions to the OCs. That's yeah. I like the Astacast too. They're pretty fun. Yeah, because I wanted the main cast to be based on fruit, and then the antagonists that will show up later based on a burger. This is basically it. That was my mind process there. It's like, man, how does he come up with these characters? Lol, I want fruit names. Done. Can't believe I just said lol out loud as a phrase. But that's the only good way of expressing this. Hold on, I gotta take this. Alright, sorry about that. I was trying to tell her that I'll be free in a bit, but she kept going, so I was like, I'm trying not to be rude, but I'm also trying to stream at the same time. But yeah, sorry about that. I know that was a long, drowned out moment. But I'll go over to her house once I'm done and see what's up. End early if I have to. It'll be fine. It's only 15 minutes. It's not, or less than that now, but it won't be much longer. But yeah, I told her I'd be free in a bit. I can at least finish the line work for this Blake before I sign off. If you need to go, then go. We can. Ah. Okay. Well, let me at least show you the. All right. So this is what we have so far, and I will work on the rest when I have the time. So I will see you guys tomorrow then. You guys take care, and I should be streaming again same time, 12 o'clock. Alright. But yeah, you guys take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow, alright? Thank you. Thank you for coming, and I will post this stuff, the other Astacast. I'll show that real quick. So here's the other one. But yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow then, alright? You guys take care. Bye-bye.